Please like and subscribe. Today I'm going to share with you unpopular opinions that I have that not everybody agrees with me. I'm probably in a minority. First is, I don't mind teaching a pitcher a new pitch, even if she hasn't mastered the last pitch that I have taught. You see, not everyone is going to be a great drop ball pitcher, and not everyone's going to be a great rise ball pitcher, so I'm not afraid to move on from the drop ball if they haven't mastered it yet, and I've given them enough time, and then, hey, let's attack a new pitch. Maybe they're going to end up being a curveball pitcher, and guess what? That's okay. When I got to college, I mastered 3 main pitches. It was a curveball, a rise ball, and a changeup. And between those 3 pitches with a fastball thrown in there every once in a while, I did pretty dang good, I'd say myself. I was averaging 12.3 strikeouts in 1996 at Chattanooga State University. So I found success in what pitches I did good at. So needless to say, if my pitching coach would have stayed on that drop ball and waited until I mastered it, I would have never gone on to the other pitches that did work well for me. My second unpopular opinion that I know most people disagree with me on is that I have watched Rachel Garcia do this. I've watched Montana Fouts, numerous other great, Kelly Barnhill, numerous other great pitchers go out and throw a rise ball. And it's like a rise ball that's inefficient, and if you're right-handed, it kind of falls off to the right. So you see a tad bit of the corkscrew in it. The more corkscrew in it, the more inefficiency is thrown into it. And what you'll see is when you throw a rise ball, more inefficient, therefore it drops less. However, we see greater speeds when this happens. One thing that I have noticed is that when my pitchers are throwing a scries ball and their form is not turned all the way out to the right to get underneath it, but it's turned ever so slightly towards the catcher when they release, if you can see my hand, they tend to do this, and the path that we are spinning around the edges of the ball turns it into a little bit of a gyro. With that said, when I put the girls on a radar gun, and I have a lot of amazing pitchers, I coach, some girls that, 2 girls that have gone on and they have won the Women's College World Series. I've even coached a girl that's gone on and pitched professionally. And when I'm clocking those girls and I'm clocking all of their pitches, I noticed that the rise ball, when they put this kind of axis perfect, because they all have that ability to do it, believe me, Rachel Garcia can do this, and is perfect, but you'll see that the speed goes down just a little bit. Turning the forearm ever so slightly to the catcher must be efficient when it comes to speed, because I see the speed increase when they have, instead of that perfect backspin, a slight tilt like this. And so because speed is so important in the rise ball, I think that they are doing it on accident because they are concerned with the speed aspect as well as getting the spin. And they have enough spin so that it does drop less. So it is very effective. I'm not against it because my pitchers are throwing it maybe a couple miles an hour faster than if the axis was perfect. They're doing very well and attaining a high level of success on the highest level of the game. My third unpopular opinion is that I am not afraid to allow a pitcher that is transitioning from an old pitching coach to me to continue coming up with a high follow through as long as they internally rotate, because that comes natural after a while of doing this. Who cares? That's kind of what comes natural after they release. The important part is they are internally rotating their release. Their follow through, which is what is done after the pitch, what I teach my beginners is to come through and kiss the hand. So they come through, their elbow catches thumb on top, and then boom, kiss the hand into the follow through. I'm not crazy about the pitcher coming up and forcing the elbow up because I do feel tension there, but simply coming up at the end of their pitch where they internally rotate and then their hand just comes up naturally, and naturally is the key because it has to be a loose arm. I actually could care less. I don't think that they're hurting themselves. I'm sure that there's somebody out there that can say, yeah, sure, my arm got stressed because I had a high follow through and it took me out of pitching. Well, I have news for you. You could be taken out on an injury just by walking up the street if you have the right muscle imbalances and maybe your mechanics when you're walking are wrong. But if a pitcher has good, solid foundation, their mechanics are sound, their arm is loose, they're internally rotating, I don't think it matters much. Back in the early 2000s, I was very adamant you had to internally rotate and kiss the hand. And I think as time has gone by, and I've actually seen some pitchers really get injured, and of course Tommy John is one of the common injuries. If they are hanging on to it, bouncing off their hip, and then boom, that's catching all the stress because it's not in the deceleration. They're actually hanging onto the ball and torquing that elbow and putting a lot of tension on it. Then I've actually seen a lot of people internally rotate, doing it wrong with bad mechanics, and they get injured. You can get injured doing anything. So it just goes to show that, you know, the hype on the internal rotation is true. It's going to make you faster, definitely. But what comes after the release is a follow through, and it's just a follow through, and it is kind of catered to that individual and what decelerates them the safest. And God didn't make everybody the same, so it's okay. People need to chill out. It's not a big deal if they have a high follow through. It's not going to kill them. It will only kill them if, of course, we throw with bad mechanics. But if you throw with bad mechanics on any pitch, you can hurt yourself. I know a lot of people are very passionate about this, and it's very understandable. I can tell you that from my experience, the release is probably the most important part, and allowing that elbow to catch and then internally rotate is probably the most important aspect. Using your joint stabilizer the way that you're supposed to, that's very important. So make sure that you're using your joint stabilizer and allow your deceleration to come natural, whatever that may be. If it's kiss the hand like I teach my babies, my beginners, then so be it. But if you want to come through and whip and then turn your arm up because that's what naturally happens, whatever. It doesn't bother me. I'm not gonna act like somebody peed in my Cheerios this morning about it. Since I'm on a roll here with a lot of unpopular opinions, I wanted to throw one more at you. I started teaching lessons when I was in college back in the late 1990s, and I've continued to do so. Now I am a pitching coach collegiately, and here is one of the things that I have found through all of the experience of myself pitching and then becoming a pitching instructor and coaching collegiately is that I teach a changeup almost at the same time as teaching a beginner a fastball. And let me explain before everybody jumps on my case. Okay, there's two different muscle memories, and if you're teaching a flip style changeup, which I do believe that, and I'm not the only one, this is not an unpopular opinion, it's actually a popular opinion, that most college coaches prefer a flip style changeup since it has a wrist snap to it. The better hitters in this game are probably timing their swing not off the speed off the mound or how fast you're rolling your arm around in a circle, but how fast you're snapping your wrist or how fast that finger push is happening. So they're staring a hole through your hip. They're timing off of just the release. So when you take away the release, maybe by throwing a knuckleball, or maybe you're paralyzing your wrist for a different type of changeup, you know, then you're taking out the wrist snap and what they are timing their swing to, and then they see it and it's not very deceptive, it's not very disguised, they hit it. Just to kind of throw something different their way and keep their interest and let them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and all these repetitions that we're doing on the same old, there is going to be strategy and a lot of fun behind what we're doing once we master that fastball. I do it where I'm not throwing them into the whole pitch, I'm just showing them a wrist snap and that's it. It's a different way of releasing, therefore it's a different muscle memory, and if we attack it early, I've had great success. And it's not like I let the beginners go into full pitch with it. I just say, hey, here's a wrist snap, and I want you to learn this, you know, at the same time that you're learning your T drills. Hey, just throw this in there, and you only have to do it 10 times and then back up. And then after they start to develop their fastball, which my pitchers do develop at a very fast rate, and they are usually pretty game ready within 8 weeks, I can start to add a little bit of the circle to that changeup, that flip style changeup, and I've had tremendous success with it, because a flip style changeup, especially if you're doing a backhand or if you're turning your thumb in front and then twirling over the top to get that corkscrew spin on your changeup, which is one that I love, it is a totally different muscle memory, and you need to teach it early because this side, the weaker side, needs to have that time to develop. And it's not like in 8 weeks they can go out and throw that changeup, it's not ready, but they can go out and throw that fastball, and in the back of their mind they are reinforcing a muscle memory that they know that they're going to need to execute later, which could be for some girls as soon as 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Some girls it could be a full year. The developmental process from pitcher to pitcher is different because we're all unique. Okay, my next one is really not that much of an unpopular opinion among college coaches. It's more of an unpopular opinion with pitching instructors. And with me being in both worlds at the same time, it is kind of unique because I get both views. And so in the college world, it's very common to teach the pitcher to develop stride that way, throw that way, fastball, stride that way, throw that way, change up. So you are changing your power lines according to your pitch. You hear a lot of pitching instructors talk about how if you change your power lines, maybe if you're right-handed and you're staggering to your left, the hitter's gonna know it's a curveball. However, the way that I teach my pitchers as well, not just at Clark Atlanta University, but at my pitching lesson facility, is to stride that way, throw that way, stride that way, throw that way, whether it's a fastball, changeup, drop ball, rise ball. If you are trying to gauge what the pitcher is throwing by their feet and that right-handed pitcher is staggering their stride to the left, you don't always know it's a curveball because it also could be outside fastball, an outside changeup, an outside rise ball, or an outside drop ball. So don't ever get confused. Don't ever follow feet on the pitcher to try to guess what the pitcher is throwing at you, because my girls, the pitch has already crossed the batter and the umpire's yelling strike by the time they figure out what pitch we're throwing, because they're studying our feet instead of looking at our hip to gauge the correct reaction time to whatever pitch we really are throwing. My last unpopular opinion is that I believe that college coaches look at the 68-mile-an-hour pitcher like they are gold, and are more apt to recruit the 68-mile-an-hour pitcher because they feel like at their school they have the most elite pitching coaches in the nation who will be able to make that pitcher that is fast but wild have command, or maybe make that pitcher that only throws a fastball suddenly have a changeup and be able to spin the ball, maybe a curve or a rise, but they'll be able to add a couple of pitches into their arsenal of weapons to make them a stronger pitcher than they already are. I think it's so rare that a pitcher can hit D3 plus that all the D1 schools kind of scoop them up. But yeah, that's my unpopular opinion. So shoot me. I think speed is important. It looks good. It gets our girls recruited a heck of a lot easier. And yeah, it's getting noticed a lot of times is getting recruited. So throw for speed. If you are that gem out there that can throw 63 plus, own it. And yell it out to every college coach that will listen, because that gets you awesome attention. Please like and subscribe.